Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. I'm going to try recording this in this vertical format and then see what happens when I upload this. I know for the short videos it kind of does its own little thing, but I'm not sure what happens when it's a normal length video. Anyway, hello, welcome back. Today, there it is, Knight of Pentacles in all of its 4K glory. I love those. You know, the hand-drawn deck is kind of interesting because it more so than any other of these decks, it really tries to get to the heart of what symbolic aspects of the card are worth keeping and which ones are worth discarding, you know. I mean, there's no colors, nothing has any body to it really, I guess except for the head. Anyways, Knight of Pentacles. Yeah, my take on this card this time around, we'll see we'll see what I'm thinking in a couple months whenever I get this again. But yeah, I was thinking about early adopters. Mostly I'm thinking technology, um, but it could be, it's, you know, technology in some ways I would fit into the suit of swords. In some ways, as far as the impact that I believe this kind of character can make in your life or in the lives of many people, would be would have more in common to do with cups in a certain way, in terms of the broader cultural relationships that are at work there. But insofar as this is something of value, this new technology, this new thing, and this individual is, you know, a herald of this new thing of value. Um, I generally, you know, this generally makes me think of the people that I know that either always have to have the latest gear, or the kind of people who are always on top of the latest software. So hardware or software. But in in both cases, I think what they have in common is this this idea that that person will have, because this is, I think we're talking about kind of an archetypal individual here that we may be encountering or we may be friends with or might be dating them, let's say. This is someone for whom the thing of value, that focus, shifts quite regularly, and it always shifts to what they believe to be that new thing that will change everything. You know, crypto is going to change everything. This new video game system is going to change everything. This new online, and you know, I thought about the way that online dating has been growing and evolving. There, you know, people used to take out personal ads in the newspaper. I mean, you know, that wasn't that long ago, and and even that was considered a very interesting new technology. Like this idea that like you're gonna take dating and you're gonna put it into this new field. You're gonna change it. You know, a lot of people never went along with it because you know they felt like dating on pen and paper in a public on a public newspaper was just so different from what they believed dating actually was. And I don't think that kind of dating really took off. But I'm sure that there were some adopters, early adopters, who, you know, swore like this is what it's going to be about. This is the new thing. This is how we're all going to do it in the future. Then there's online dating, right? I'm sure same thing. I'm sure a lot of people got into it early. A lot of people were resistant. I'm sure a lot of people are still resistant to it. But I think that I think that there's a big difference between the kind of individual that thought that the, you know, newspaper personal ad dating was going to take off and the person who thought online dating was going to take off. Namely, I mean, one of them was right and one of them was wrong. with all fairness due to all the complexity involved in making such a generic kind of judgment. But yeah, these individuals, you know, when they're wrong, and this is, I think, especially valuable to consider when this is someone in your life that you care about, you're involved with, or maybe this is even someone leading the company that you work for. When they're wrong, these people often get pissed off at more than just that new technology. They often adopt this stance of loathing towards the towards the more general thing that new technology, that new thing was going to revolutionize. So, the really generic example would be this person's, mail-in dating thing didn't work out, and now they just think it's not because that thing was wrong, it's because dating is just corrupt and stupid and pointless, and you know. But yeah, so one thing to be cautious of, and maybe to gently remind people that whatever the new thing they're infatuated with, sure, is new, but it's just one more new thing in a long chain of new things, right? Um, maybe buffer them for that potential failure. Um, then also inversely, when they're correct, it could also be kind of a dangerous situation, because often people make predictions for one reason and the prediction comes true for another reason. Then they think that they're proven right, when in fact the very thing that happened for some completely other set of reasons. Oh, this zombie deck is hilarious. Um, Now these are always the kind of technologies, the kind of tools I'm thinking of are the ones that end up having a profound impact on culture, a profound impact. Even you could even go so far as to say spirituality, and and I love having conversations about spirituality with people who consider themselves to be 100% non-spiritual, but nonetheless interact with certain things, either technologies or media, often rewatching the same famous trilogy of movies or something. They know it inside out. They can quote it. They see references to it everywhere in the world. Or people who spend the majority of their free time, and certainly almost all of the time where they're paying attention, to something, they spend it inside of virtual worlds. And whether it's social media or video games, let's say, uh, parasocial relationships on social media, or with porn, or but there are people who are living a very similar spiritual life, in the sense that, a couple hundred years ago, a spiritual person was living with their head in the clouds, to put it poetically, and they were seeing everything from the perspective of some worldview superimposed on top of, I guess, what people would consider to be the generally agreed upon reality worldview. Um, but yeah, so these are. I feel like this knight is a person who is the the thing they're the thing that they're moving towards, because it is on the horizon for them. I am largely going off of the Marseille deck card, where it's a guy on horseback. He sees the coin floating in front of him. He's heading towards it. Is it the sun? Is it something he's envisioning? And he's got a wand with him. And I see the wand as that's the part that I interpret as he's carrying this creative outgrowth of the world around him. I think that often these people will feel attached to the new technology as though it is as though it's somehow a part of them, or as they have a part in its creation. Like the technology coming into existence and just being out there is not as important as its adoption, which I think is true, right? Who cares if Facebook's source code gets stolen uh, in the context of someone being able to make a second Facebook? It's, a perfect replica of the software that Facebook runs on is useless without what is it? It's like a, a billion people using it around the world. That's what makes it useful. So I think it's the correct sort of recognition that the adoption is as important, if not more so, than the actual piece of technology. And in that sense, those early adopters feel like they're a part of that growing organic thing taking shape, right? Um, yeah, it's. I guess I just kind of wanted to focus on the potentially negative aspects first. Oh yeah, that last picture was nice. The guy was like looking off into this coin in the distance. On the positive side, um, there are individuals who regularly make this sort of pilgrimage to you know to the new land, to the promised land that this new technology announces that it will bring into existence. There certainly are people who are very good at casually making that pilgrimage, and I think that being able to recognize the former from the latter, Knight of Pentacles, is pretty important. With the former being the one that might become disenchanted, apathetic, upset, or overly proud, and in potentially in a way that is inaccurate. Proud of essentially having initially misunderstood the value of the thing, but it nonetheless succeeds. Yeah, being able to tell those Knight of Coins apart from the ones that are talented, or have experience. They're like, someone like a tracker or a scout who has pursued this game many times. That last card just kind of made me think about that. Um, someone, someone who always has their eyes open, their ears to the ground. They see these new things appearing on the horizon. They are happy and inspired to go and investigate them. They can be considered at least somewhat authoritative because of their, objective and detached uh, stance or approach to these things. And I think if you know one of these individuals, I think it could be very valuable, if not just interesting and entertaining, to join them on their expeditions towards these new things, or at least catch up with them, so they could fill you in on their journeys. Maybe do the whole hey, I just got back from this place. Let me show you some pictures. I got a slideshow. Um, yeah, let them report back. And to some degree, this is a quality that I think all people can feel inspired by having the chance to sort of put it out there. I think there, you know what, I want to be careful saying this, because I've inadvertently turned a couple people into like almost fanatical quote unquote reporters. But um, yeah, people, we certainly live in a information age in a lot of ways, and people value the news. People value new information, especially the kind of information that maybe a lot of people don't know about. They're like, I don't know if you heard about this, but um, it's certainly it's certainly a good mode of conversation. It could certainly be a lot of fun to engage someone with the kind of questions involving, like what aspect of their life involves dealing with some relatively new thing that maybe most people don't know about is like a thing that's new, and then particularly the cultural impacts of that thing. Um, I remember when I'll just wrap it up with this. I remember when video games. I remember video games when they were so primitive. I remember text-based video games. I remember the 8-bit systems, the original Nintendo Entertainment System and the Sega Master System. And and I remember these games evolving, and then I remember, I would say significantly later, an important an important debate beginning to rage about violence in video games, having whether it has, and I mean certain people insisted that violence in video games absolutely influenced the minds of the individuals playing the video game. It made them more likely to be violent. And I remember I remember trying to keep up with it, seeing where it went, seeing how at different points along that conversation, scientific evidence supporting both sides of the argument would be available. But at different times, one side of scientific research would be embraced over another. I think largely having to do with what kind of political parties had most of the control in the media, I guess. But thinking about it now, I highly doubt that anyone brought up those types of issues, those types of concerns, when the technology that allowed for the creation of video games was being created in the first place. You know? And it seems kind of, I mean, thinking about it, it seems like a, yeah, no duh kind of moment. But imagine, imagine being one of the early computer programmers, not even computer programmers, just one of the early computer scientists who have just moved past whatever the initial programming experiments, of getting their computers to compute things. Imagine the first guy that was like, that was thinking, hey, you know what? We could totally make games in this. Well, there'll be games, but on a computer games. We can make, I don't know, we can make checkers or tic-tac-toe or something. Fuck, we can literally invent anything. We can create a video game of anything. I wonder if at that point anyone said, hold up, you gotta you gotta shut this down, because if you really mean to say that you've created an abstract world in which people will be able to create anything, including a game involving any goal, we got to shut this down. We can't let this technology out into the world. People will make all sorts of games. People will make sex games. People will make violence games. You know, people will make games depicting death, and it'll scare children or something. Like, I really doubt that this was a concern for anyone when the technology was at that state of infancy, right? Um, really kind of makes me wonder what kind of technologies exist in that state now that no one is yet asking those questions or voicing those concerns, recognizing that at some point in the future there might be heated debates about the safety and security of these things. I guess the only one that I would take a guess at would be the the technology of gamification, right? So like using the mechanics of video games in software applications that are not themselves video games, but they used a video game. They use some video game like hook to get the person to keep using it. And I think that, like, yeah, initially when I was talking about dating apps, right? Um, I think that I think that we can pretty safely, although no bets, but I think it's pretty safe to assume that dating apps and social media apps will become more and more gamified, where at a certain point, using, let's say, a dating app will have more to do with logging in every day, getting the daily award, swiping on 5 profiles, leveling up your avatar because you swiped, doesn't matter which way, unlocking badges, sending a specific message a certain amount of times to a certain amount of people. Um, that the reason that people will, let's say, use dating apps will be for the dopaminergic satisfaction that is generally associated with playing a video game, or at least that would be my prediction. And social media, I think some banking apps are already trying to do this to get people to bank and save and trade, buy stocks and things like that. But yeah, so the things to consider is we're talking about the individuals in your life that are early adopters of technology, specifically technologies that if if they were to come into existence would have some significant cultural impact. That is the reason why these individuals find value in those technologies. It's not just the tool for its own sake, it's for how it will change everything. And then, yeah, keeping an eye out for the individuals that might be misguided or might respond negatively to either their prediction coming true or not coming true. Then also keeping an eye out for the talented scouts and hunters of these new technologies, maybe coming along for one of these hunts with them, or at least catching up and getting some stories from the field, some reports from the field. That's it for me today. Hope you liked the video. Drop me a like if you did, or a comment, and also you can comment free reading for your chance to win a free one-on-one reading. Thanks again for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care.